What's up YouTube? Fire Fitness Brand back with another video. So we're gonna jump right into it. So the most common injury when it comes to lifting or parkour or calisthenics or whatever physical movements that you do or physical workouts that you do, the most common injury are wrist injuries, okay? And these are the most common because your wrist is very complex. There's a lot of joints, there's a lot of bones in there, and they're separated, and there's a lot of parts that make up the wrist. So your wrists are very prone to get injured, and this is very likely and this is very common. So we're going to talk about ways you can avoid your wrist injury and how you can improve your wrist strength, so that way you don't have to necessarily worry about injuries as much. So the first thing you should be doing when doing any workout that involves a lot of wrist strain is warming up. That's the very first thing you should be doing. So whether it's handstands or whether it's bench pressing, whatever it is, anything that requires a lot of restraint on your wrist or anything that requires you to pretty much put pressure on your wrist, mainly a lot of pushing exercises like handstands or bench press, then you should be warming up your wrists. So the way you're going to do that is with stretches and movements. So the very first stretch that we're going to do is we're going to stretch the front part of the wrist right here. All you're going to do is put your hands on the floor like so, and you're just going to lean forward as far as you can comfortably while keeping the back of your palms on the floor. If your palm is coming up like this, that means you're stretching too far and you're hyperextending your wrist. So make sure that you stretch as far as you can. Keep your elbows pointed out, not in. Keep them pointed out. And also, you're going to stretch the back side of the wrist. So you're going to turn your wrist like this, and you're going to lean back. And also, if you put your palms on the floor and lean back, that's going to stretch the front part of your wrist as well. Just a different stretch, but going to stretch the same part of your wrist. So now when doing those stretches, I recommend doing about 2 to 3 sets for 20 to 30 seconds. Also, after you do those stretches, make sure you do some wrist movement just to help with some extra blood flow. So what you would do is you can cross your hands like this, rotate your wrists. I'll go like 10 times to the left or right side, then 10 times to the other side. And then sometimes I'll just like clench my hands, bend my wrists like this. Just make sure to get some extra blood flow in there. So always do some little movements, and I'll probably do like 10 each wrist, and just some rotations by themselves. 10 one way, 10 the other way. And that'll pretty much be good for your warm-ups with your wrists. So the second thing that you should be doing to help avoid wrist injury is strengthening your wrists with exercises. So do this about 2 to 3 times per week, and it'll take probably like 5 to 10 minutes to do these exercises. And make sure that when you're doing these wrist exercises, you do them separately. Make sure not to do them with other exercises or other muscle groups or skill training that you're doing. So this first exercise is a pretty common one. You'll just take a ball, or if you want to make it harder, you can use a dumbbell, like a 5 or 10 pound dumbbell. Make sure not to go too heavy or you will strain your wrist, but you could just go up with it, do about 10 to 15 sets. And then also, you can come up with your palm facing down. So this is a pretty common exercise, and this is a pretty good exercise. It's going to strengthen your forearm as well, but it put a lot of tension. All the tension is on your wrist when lifting the weight. So this is a real good one to help strengthen your wrist. The next exercise that's going to help are the wrist push-ups. So you can do this on the floor or the wall. It's harder on the floor, but if you bring your knees in like I am, it makes it much easier to do on the floor. So you'll just raise your wrist on your fingers like this. And as you want to make it harder, you just bring your knees back. Also, you can do the back sides of your wrist. So just rotate your wrist around, and you're going to lift as so. And same concept. If you want to make it harder, just bring your knees back and it'll be harder. So this exercise is just you're gonna hold a plank position, a push-up position, but instead of being on your palms, you're gonna be on your fingertips. And this is, you could just hold it. I mean, it's not necessary to do push-ups, but you can hold it just like this for time. And you could do 15 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it is. But this position, the one where you're holding, what we just did, holding the push-up position on your fingertips, this is a different kind of exercise. So this one is a hold. This one is a static hold. It's not a dynamic movement where you're moving within the movement. So this one is going to be really good because it's going to help with time under tension of your wrist. It's not like you're putting stress on it then stopping, putting stress on it then stopping. It's not reps, it's a hold. So this one is going to be really good for long-term wrist strength. One of the last but the most important things you should be doing to help avoid wrist injury is listening to your body. So if your wrist is in pain, that means you most likely need to stop. So for example, if you're bench pressing and let's say your chest feels fine, your chest is strong enough to do it, but your wrists are hurting. So one of two things are happening here. One, you're most likely holding the bar in a wrong position that's upsetting your wrist. Or two, your wrist could be too weak to lift that much weight. So when you're bench pressing, a good way to hold your wrist, some people have their wrists like this. That's gonna put a lot of stress on your wrist. The best thing to do is to bench upright like this. You may have a slight bend, but that's way better than bench pressing like this. And it's better to use your thumb around the bar. That way you can avoid wrist injury. Because if you have your thumb over the bar, you're gonna lean back like this because you're gonna wanna avoid the bar slipping out. Hello?
Hello, can I speak with Mr. Stovall, please?
This is him. I'm doing good. How about you?
Good. Not good. I'm at work.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just calling to remind you of your appointment that you had scheduled tomorrow at 11 a.m. with Dr. Grajeda.
Okay. Yes, I'll be there.
Okay, all right. The only thing we ask is if, you gotta wear a mask, but if you're got any flu-like symptoms, reschedule. Otherwise, we'll see you in the morning.
Okay, thank you.
All right, have a good day. Bye-bye.
Alright, bye. But, like I was saying, so like I was saying, what was I talking about? Listening to your body. Yeah. Listen to your body. And another example is if you're doing a handstand or you're trying to learn the handstand and your wrists are hurting, your wrists are probably not flexible enough. You're probably hyperextending your wrists because your wrist is not flexible enough to be within that position. So also that goes along with listening to your body is overtraining. Make sure you're not overtraining. So your wrist can be strong enough, your wrist can be flexible enough, but over a period of time your wrist can start to hurt, which means you're overtraining your wrist. Your wrist doesn't have enough endurance to keep going with the other muscles that you're training. So make sure to listen to your body, which is the most important part. Make sure to warm up, make sure to stretch, and just stay fierce. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this. Make sure to like this video so you can go back and reference some things that I said so you don't forget them. And make sure to subscribe for more updates and more informational videos. Also, I'm going to put the link to the website below. That way you can check out the merchandise and the programs that we have available to offer. And also make sure to check out our social media channels and where we're going to provide more fitness educational content. Have a blessed day.